this. I was interested to build a game where the players open. Oh yeah, OpenBCI. The game changes environments based on how the player's feelings. Yeah, I actually did that. Actually, well, talking about one of these, right? Yeah, I've messed with OpenBCI and I've kind of coded some stuff and kind of lost my mind with it, but that's cool. Wow, there's some OpenBCI people here. Yeah, the signal processing is no joke. Oh boy. Yeah, that's a big one. I could do I could try to do a breakdown on that, but there's a lot to it. There really is a lot to it, and I could try to point you towards maybe Python libraries that would offset some of it because I actually did research on like writing my own functions, and some of the work I did for DARPA was trying to sort of reinvent some of the signal processing stuff, but that's totally unnecessary and it barely improved anything. Okay, interesting. Yeah, maybe the best way to do that is like maybe I'll do a YouTube series or something. Do a feature engineer. Yeah, feature engineering. I assume you mean because like if you work as a machine learning engineer in industry, which I've done, are you just talking about using like regularization and trying different things and you want to be deeper or less deep? Yeah, okay, that's the impression I was getting from you. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. Yeah, I could do some videos on that. Because I think there is some old stuff that has like unnecessary inertia in our field because people used to do okay. Yeah, that's probably you're probably gonna be spending a lot of time learning then, which is fine. I miss what I did. Cool. He said don't want to use Python libraries for signal processing without knowing what it does internally. I should be reading these out loud. I realize. You have a master's degree in stat. You're not sure how to approach it from a signal processing point of view. Yeah. So I actually took signal processing classes at Berkeley. I guess I revealed I went to Berkeley. I took some graduate signal processing classes. I had zero because I came from medical. I didn't even have undergrad, so that was really rough. But yeah, learning like Fourier transforms. I mean, the basics is to know. I guess Fourier transforms. You probably because you're in stats, you know, like PCA, EEG. People like to use a lot of ICA, but when I've done my own, yeah, I assumed, yeah. uh, I've done a lot. I've a lot of like typical EEG research will use ICA because it finds and removes blinks pretty well, but I was always trying to like get around sort of I'm skeptical of the ICA stuff because I'm worried that because we've sort of hit a wall in EEG research, and I started kind of getting more fundamental. I think kind of like how you're thinking, and I was worried that ICA removes blinks from your data, so when you blink, you get these big spikes in your EEG data, and your brain signal is like a tenth or a hundredth. I mean, it's buried in noise in the raw signal. ICA stands for independent component analysis, by the way. So PCA, you already know, is principal component analysis. Principal component analysis, and for everybody else, I will get off this in like 1 or 2 minutes and go back to more general questions. But and I will probably maybe I'll do like a more focused signal processing Q&A maybe tomorrow if I'm up for it because I'd like just to maybe I could do it live and then do some videos or something or whatever. But let me go through some of it now. So principal component analysis works by finding the most orthogonal axes. I don't know. It has a couple of definitions, but it's the maximum variance and the most orthogonal features. IC is very similar. Instead of trying to, so PCA is trying to find axes that have the basically no correlation and capture most of the variance. So if you have a point cloud like this, this is for everybody else's behalf in case somebody else is interested. Um, you're rotating the axis until you capture, if you have this, sorry, there's the camera. If you have the point cloud like this, you're rotating it until you capture the variance of the point clouds like this, and then you find another axis that's orthogonal to that, and so forth, so forth. So if you have high dimensional data, you can have high PCA, and they use it for many fields. Um, ICA just works with a slightly different criterion. It's trying to find independent information, and there's a criterion they use, and they try to maximize it iteratively, and and you end up with the same result in the PCA in the sense that you end up with when you run PCA, you get a number of PC components, principal components that are equal to or less than the number of observations. So let me make this a little more relevant to everybody else, so we don't totally lose everybody here. Um, so the example I have to use, I guess, is that if you're say you're a fifth grade teacher in a small town and you teach all the subjects and you have like a history class, math class, and I don't know, reading class. And so you have 30 students and they all have three different grades. You're What you can do statistically, and that's what we're talking about with PCA, is you can take what that's essentially three-dimensional data. And if you're not used to thinking of high dimensions of data, it's not that complicated because you put all the students' history grades on one axis, and then on a completely orthogonal axis, you put all the math scores, and then you put all the uh, whatever that I said, reading scores. And so like say Tommy, who's really good at everything, is sticking out here, and then somebody who's really good at reading and math, but not so good at this axis, they're here rather than here. That I don't know if that makes any sense. They're a point somewhere in this 3D space. And the point is the relevant thing is like if you were a teacher and you had three scores, what you could do is you could PCA this, and this is essentially how like IQ scores work. Is you're just looking for a single dimension through this 3D. Um, I don't know if I'm doing that well for the camera, but you're looking for like say a dimension ends up being like maybe diagonal through it or something that you can collapse everybody's points down to or and see their score. Um, I don't know if that helped at all. I realize I might have to try that again later, but anyway, ICA is a similar thing. It's just trying to instead of variance and orthogonality, it's independence of information, which is really it's another like correlation based metric. It's trying to find components that don't correlate basically. Um, and it's based on information criteria as a definition. Anyway, it turns out it's really good for time series. It's really good for two things. Like the more widespread example in engineering is that if you have like it's called the cocktail party problem. You have like three microphones in the room at different corners of the room, and there's like three conversations going on. All three mics are going to pick up all three conversations, and they're going to be overlapping, and it's going to sound like blah 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 blah. And if you do IC on it, it's really good. It just works really well at separating out those three conversations because for whatever reason, the audio signal separates out really well by information criterion. So ICA is something you should probably at least be aware of if you're interested in time series, and it's like a stone's throw away from PCA. Um, what else? Um, yeah. So what were we talking about? So yeah, yeah. So anyway, Fourier transforms is another one I would say you could start learning, and um, can I contact you sometime? I can provide you credentials. Oh, I don't need to double check your credentials, man. I don't care. I'm not at a university or something. I'm just doing this for fun. I'm I don't think people realize. So I started pretty young, and I'm kind of over it now, which is why I'm just on stream now. So um, I'm not doing anything too seriously, but I know a lot of stuff. So if I can help, whatever. But I don't know. Some people were asking if I could hire them. So I don't have a company or a functional company. So I don't have any ability to hook anybody up with recommendations in the university systems. I couldn't get a faculty job, so I don't know how I can really help anybody else. So anyway, um, but I guess I like talking about this stuff. Um, if you're interested in self learning or whatever, that's cool. I hit my head against some independent projects for a couple years after I got out, um, and I got some funding from the DoD, and I was using actually the Open BCI headset. I was trying to develop some program stuff, but it's such a hard boulder to move uphill. It's I think like a lot of technology, it's incremental, and if you're just genuinely interested in the stuff, that's good because you need a lot of that for your reward cycle. But